But let me say a couple of things about technology, and just because I say this, it doesn't mean that it can be applicable. Once you are addicted and once it becomes part of who and what you are, it's difficult to overcome anything, really. In Iran, the place we lived, we had no running water, we had no electricity. My father had to go to work around 4 or 5 in the morning. And so I had to wake up early, go to places, find wood, bring them home, make fire, boil some water, make some tea, warm some bread so that my father can get up and his breakfast is ready. You can't do that if you hate your father. You can't do that if you don't have much respect for your father. You can't do that if you come from a culture that doesn't train you to kind of respect your elders a little. So that was instilled in me, not because I willed it, not because I read a book. It was just culturally created inside. And then when my father would come home, we'd sit at the dinner table and he would tell us his stories. He worked at the oil refinery, as most Persians did that time. You know, there is something special about going somewhere, sitting next to people and looking them in the eye and listening to their story, regardless how pathetic it may be. And you don't make a peep, you just listen. Many of you in this class have experienced that when you talk to someone and they're not listening to you, you feel invisible, you feel disrespected, you feel devalued. But these are not the emotions we had for many thousands of years. My father felt as if he had the ears of 5 or 6 people. He felt relevant when he was sharing his stories because why? We were listening attentively. And that creates relationship, it creates intimacy. So when my father gets sick, I go there. Why? Because of all the things that him and I have done in the past many years. Why? I looked him in the eye, I listened to his stories. And because of that, he gave me money, he gave me respect. He did this awful mistake. One day he came home with this wooden box. This is a time where now houses had electricity and all that. And he plugged this box in and he turned it on, and all of a sudden this noise came out. Some guy was talking about nature, a different country, a different continent, a different group of people doing different set of things. And all of us sat and listened attentively for hours. The problem with that was we were no longer listening to my father. My father was no longer talking to us. And every time my father wanted to say something, we would say, "Dad, can you just turn on the radio? Stop talking, because you can't really match what's coming out of this wooden box. Just be quiet." My father slowly became more and more invisible, alienated, depressed, lonely. Of course, in the Middle East, the Near East, you don't talk about depression. You don't talk about loneliness. You just suck it up. You have a tough skin. And that's why no one is ever medicated. I'm talking about like 40, 50 years ago. I'm not talking about now. You can find the same narratives in India, Mexico, China, Africa. So we were sitting together still. We would have food together, look each other in the eye, once in a while grin, smile, nod our heads, but we would no longer talk. Years passed by and technology improved, and my father came in with a bigger wooden box, TV. We would still sit together, but no one would look at each other and no one would talk. I mean, when you have the image of Angelina Jolie, Brad Pitt, Snoop Dogg, Lil Wayne, Eminem, who would want to look at their companion? And as time passed, we realized there are going to be some really serious cracks in the relationships. My mom says, "I need help." I say, "Well, yeah, I'll come there after I finish my show." Now, then came the telephones. Before that, of course, if you wanted to see someone, like a parent or a friend, you would save some money, which requires sacrifice, some awareness. You would tame your desires a little bit. Then you would get on a horse or a bike, a bus, and you would go see them. And when you travel somewhere, it means that you value something, you value someone. The sacrifice is necessary and you're more than willing to make it. When the telephones came, you no longer had to make those sacrifices. Just pick up the phone and you talk. Traveling is no longer needed. Sacrifice of that sort no longer needed. But here's the thing you need to understand about the telephones of, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. You would generate conversation for 5, 6, 7 hours. I mean, none of us in this class live a very exciting, inspiring life. But somehow we were imaginative enough, creative enough to create stories and talk about those stories on the phone for hours. We call it gossip, but it makes life going and it's good. With cell phones came texting. The truth is now you no longer need to talk to anyone. It's a hassle. Even I do it myself. Why pick up the phone and call my mom? I'll just send her a YouTube clip of something. Instead of picking up the phone and asking her, so mom, how you doing today? She's 80, she's not well, but I know that if I call her, she's gonna bombard me and harass me and abuse me. My back, my shoulders, your father, your brother, your sister, you, life, go. Did you hear what happened in Iran? They executed ABCD. The car wash is broke. And to protect myself of my mom's harassment, I just text her, hey mom, hope you're well, call soon. And so you should know that should my mom call and say, your dad died and I need someone to protect me. She said, mom, nursing home. My life is far too busy. So as technology improves, our relationships, human relationships, begin to disappear. I say all of that for one simple reason. This class is boring. It's not going to teach you much. I'm boring. I'm not going to teach you much. And the truth is, life is boring. It's like groundhog. Repeats itself over and over and over again. And that's going to be your marriage. Every single relationship you walk into, it's going to get boring. You have a couple of options. Every time your husband, your wife, your companion comes in, you can just pick up your cell phone and YouTube stuff to ultimately force your companion to leave you or disrespect you, not listen to you, period. Or it's boring, okay, let's go to the kitchen, make some food and sit and just look at each other.